3,000 ships, one survivor. What happened to the most catastrophic invasion fleet in galactic history? The answer will make you question everything you thought you knew about cosmic conquest. Admiral Blizzleton Farnsworth Pumpernickel III was having what could generously be described as the worst morning of his 1700-year career. Not because he'd accidentally been promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander after his predecessor choked on a space bagel, mind you. That had actually been quite pleasant. No, the problem was considerably more pressing. He had absolutely no idea what he was doing. "Sir!" squeaked his aide, Lieutenant Bumblebee Snodgrass, bursting through the office doors like a caffeinated hamster. "The Galactic Conquest Committee is demanding an update on Operation Squish the Humans." Blizzleton stared at the enormous stack of forms on his desk. Form 2847B, Application for Planetary Subjugation. Form 99965X, Request for Death Ray Permits. Form 1138Q, Complaint about Cafeteria Food Quality during interstellar campaigns. The bureaucracy of galactic conquest was, quite frankly, more terrifying than the actual conquering. "Snodgrass," Blizzleton said, adjusting his unnecessarily complicated military hat, "remind me again why we're invading this particular mudball." "Well, sir, according to the official Galactic Threat Assessment Manual, 3rd edition, revised for clarity, Earth poses a significant danger to our way of life. And what exactly makes them so dangerous?" Snodgrass flipped through his tablet with the enthusiasm of someone reading a particularly dull instruction manual. They make really good sandwiches, sir." "Sandwiches?" "Yes, sir. Apparently our scouts reported that their sandwich-making technology is advancing at an alarming rate. The committee fears that if left unchecked, they might develop the ultimate sandwich." Blizzleton rubbed his temples. In his species, this involved roughly 14 different appendages and looked rather like someone trying to solve a Rubik's Cube with their face. "And this is why we're sending 3,000 ships?" "Oh, no, sir. That's not why we're sending 3,000 ships. Then why are we sending 3,000 ships? Because Form 7734R requires a minimum fleet size of 3,000 for any planet with a population exceeding 7 billion, sir. It's right here in subsection 42, paragraph... Let me see. Yes, paragraph 987. But what if we don't need 3,000 ships? Then we'd need to fill out Form 8843M, Request for Fleet Size Reduction, which requires approval from the Department of Unnecessary Complications, which is currently closed for renovations." Blizzleton felt a migraine coming on. In his species, migraines involve tiny explosions of light behind the eyes and a sensation rather like being repeatedly hit with a cosmic rubber chicken. "Fine, fine. Who's commanding these ships?" "Well, sir, that's where things get a bit complicated. More complicated than bureaucratic sandwich warfare." "I'm afraid so, sir. You see, most of our actual military officers are currently engaged in the Great Galactic Shuffleboard Championship on Rigel 7. So we've had to promote, well, whoever was available." "Define available." "Captain Dingleberry Wobblebottom is commanding the flagship. He used to run a space taxi service." "A space taxi?" "Yes, sir. Very reliable. Never lost a passenger. Well, except that one time. But that was more of a dimensional portal incident, really." Blizzleton stared at his aide. "Continue." "Then there's Captain Snozzlebird Gigglewhistle, formerly head of maintenance for the Zeta Reticuli sewage treatment plant. Captain Bumblethorpe Noodlehead, who ran a very successful deep space food truck called Tentacles and Chips. And Captain Wigglesworth Bonkington, who... well, nobody's quite sure what he used to do, but he has excellent references." "References for what?" "Pet grooming, sir." The Admiral's left eye began to twitch. This was concerning, as his species had 12 eyes, and when they started twitching in sequence, it usually meant someone was about to have a complete nervous breakdown. "And what about the ships themselves?" "Ah, yes, the ships." Snodgrass beamed with pride. "We've assembled quite an impressive fleet, sir. We've got the Cosmic Devastator, which is actually a converted garbage scow. The Stellar Annihilator, formerly a luxury cruise ship. The Planetary Crusher, which used to be a mobile library. And the Death's Head Nebula, which is technically just a really large food truck." "A food truck?" "Yes, sir. They make excellent cosmic tacos. The crew refuses to rename it." Admiral Blizzleton stood up, walked to his window, and stared out at the bustling spaceport, where 3,000 ships were preparing for what would surely go down as the most spectacular disaster in military history. Ships that looked like they'd been assembled by a committee of drunk engineers with a passion for interpretive dance. Crews that couldn't conquer a paper bag, let alone an entire planet. "Sir," Snodgrass ventured timidly, "should I send the order to begin the invasion?" Blizzleton sighed. It was the kind of sigh that contained within it the weight of 17 centuries of bureaucratic absurdity, the crushing realization that he was about to become the most famous failure in galactic history, and the distant hope that maybe, just maybe, the humans would be too busy making sandwiches to notice. "Send the order," he said. "And Snodgrass?" "Yes, sir. Make sure you fill out Form 999Z, Advance Notification of Impending Doom. We wouldn't want to invade anyone without proper paperwork." 3 days later, the most incompetent invasion fleet in galactic history departed for Earth. None of them had bothered to read the updated intelligence reports. If they had, they might have noticed that the dangerous sandwich-making civilization had recently split the atom, landed on their moon, and invented something called the Internet, which was apparently capable of turning any attempt at serious communication into pictures of cats. But they didn't read the reports. They were too busy trying to figure out how to operate ships that had been designed by committee, crewed by amateurs, and equipped with weapons that came with instruction manuals written in 17 different languages, none of which anyone could read. Captain Dinglebury Wobblebottom stood on the bridge of his flagship, which was technically called the Cosmic Devastator, but still had Intergalactic Waste Management painted on the side in fading letters. He was studying what he assumed was a tactical display, but was actually a menu from the ship's cafeteria. "Sir," called his navigation officer, Ensign Tootleberry Snickerdoodle, "we're approaching the target system." "Excellent," Wobblebottom declared, puffing out his chest in what he hoped was a commanding manner. "Prepare to unleash devastating destruction upon the unsuspecting inhabitants of this cosmic backwater." "Sir, the destruction unleashing device appears to be a vacuum cleaner." "A what?" "It's a very powerful vacuum cleaner, sir. Top of the line. It can suck up dust from 3 different dimensions simultaneously." Wobblebottom stared at the device. It was indeed a vacuum cleaner. It even had a little attachment for cleaning upholstery. "Well," he said finally, "I'm sure we can make it work. Are the other ships ready?" Captain Gigglewhistle reports that his engines are making a concerning wobbling noise. Captain Noodlehead says his ship smells like fish and chips. And Captain Bonkington, well, he's not responding to our calls, but we can hear what sounds like a very large dog barking in the background. Dogs? Very large dogs, sir. Extraordinarily large dogs. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Cornelius Bumblebottom was having a perfectly ordinary Tuesday morning. He was an astronomer, which meant he spent most of his time looking at things that were very far away and wondering what they might be thinking about. Today, however, something was looking back. "Jennifer," he called to his research assistant, who was currently trying to untangle a particularly stubborn piece of radio equipment. "Are you seeing this?" Jennifer Snodgrass looked up from her battle with the recalcitrant machinery. "Seeing what, Cornelius?" "There appear to be several thousand large objects approaching our solar system at considerable speed." "Several thousand?" 3,000 to be precise, and they're all quite odd-looking. Jennifer peered through the telescope. What she saw defied conventional understanding of spacecraft design. The objects appeared to have been designed by someone who had read a book about spaceships, but had never actually seen one. They looked like a collection of cosmic garage sale items held together with hope and industrial adhesive. "Should we call someone?" she asked. "Who exactly does one call about a potential alien invasion? The military? The government? The pizza delivery service?" "The pizza delivery service? Well, if we're about to be invaded, we might as well have a good meal first." As they watched, the fleet entered Earth's atmosphere with all the grace and dignity of 3,000 flying washing machines having a collective nervous breakdown. The ships came in at odd angles, trailing smoke, making noises that sounded like a cosmic orchestra tuning up while being attacked by space bees. Captain Wobblebottom's ship landed in what he hoped was a strategically important location, but was actually the parking lot of a 24-hour diner in Nevada. The Cosmic Devastator touched down with a tremendous crash, crushing several cars and setting off every car alarm within a 5-mile radius. "Excellent," Wobblebottom declared, straightening his uniform. "We have successfully established a beachhead. Now let's review our invasion protocol." He pulled out a manual titled Galactic Conquest for Dummies, 3rd edition. The cover featured a cartoon alien giving a thumbs up while standing on a pile of defeated planets. "Step 1, he read aloud. "Emerge from ship in menacing fashion." The ship's door opened with a sound like a rusty can opener having an argument with a bagpipe. Captain Wobblebottom stepped out, attempting to look menacing but mostly achieving the appearance of someone who had gotten lost on the way to a costume party. He was greeted by a small crowd of humans who had gathered to watch the spectacle. They were holding up phones, taking pictures, and making excited noises. "Greetings, pitiful earthlings," Wobblebottom announced in what he hoped was a terrifying voice. "I am Captain Dingleberry Wobblebottom of the Galactic Conquest Fleet, and I am here to... Why are you all pointing those small rectangular objects at me?" "They're taking pictures," explained a helpful human wearing a t-shirt that read, "I believe in aliens and they're probably disappointed in us. Pictures for social media. You're about to go viral." "Viral? Are you attempting to infect me with some sort of biological weapon?" No, it means you're going to be famous on the internet." "The what?" "The internet. It's this thing where people share pictures of cats and argue about things that don't matter." Wobblebottom consulted his manual. There was nothing about cats or arguing about unimportant things. I am here to conquer your planet." "Oh, that's nice," said a woman holding a coffee cup. "Are you here for the convention?" "Convention?" "The sci-fi convention. It's next weekend. You guys are a little early, but the costumes are amazing." "These are not costumes. We are actual aliens." Right. Hey, can you sign my Star Wars program?" Wobblebottom looked around desperately. His invasion was not going according to plan. The humans were supposed to be cowering in terror, not asking for autographs. His manual had not prepared him for this. "Look," he said, trying to regain control of the situation. "I have a death ray." He gestured toward the vacuum cleaner, which his crew had helpfully wheeled out of the ship. "That's a Hoover," observed a teenager wearing headphones. "It's a death ray. It's got the model number right there on the side. My mom has the same one." "Your mother has a death ray?" "She uses it to clean the living room. It's got really good suction." Wobblebottom was beginning to panic. This was not how galactic conquest was supposed to work. According to his manual, the humans should be fleeing in terror, not offering helpful cleaning tips. "Perhaps," suggested his aide, Ensign Snickerdoodle, "we should try a different approach." "What kind of different approach?" "Well, sir, maybe we could ask nicely." Wobblebottom stared at his aide. "Ask nicely." "It's just a suggestion, sir." Meanwhile, similar scenes were playing out across the planet. Captain Gigglewhistle had landed his ship in a Walmart parking lot and was currently engaged in an intense discussion with a store manager about whether or not he needed a permit to park there. Captain Noodlehead had crashed into a McDonald's and was being interviewed by a local news crew about his performance art installation, and Captain Bonkington had somehow landed in a dog park and was being enthusiastically greeted by approximately 50 very large, very friendly dogs. "This is not going according to plan," Admiral Blizzleton muttered as he watched the reports flooding in from around the globe. His invasion fleet was being treated like a cross between a circus and a very elaborate prank. "Sir," Lieutenant Snodgrass said, "Captain Wobblebottom is requesting immediate assistance. He says the humans are trying to feed him something called pancakes, and he's not sure if it's a trap." "And Captain Giggle Whistle?" "He's been given a shopping cart and is apparently participating in something called Black Friday preparations." "What about Noodlehead?" "He's been offered a job as a fry cook. The pay is surprisingly good." "And Bonkington?" He started a dog walking service, sir. He says it's the most fulfilling work he's ever done." Admiral Blizzleton felt that familiar sensation of impending doom that came with being responsible for the most spectacular failure in military history. His invasion fleet wasn't conquering Earth. Earth was conquering his invasion fleet. "Sir," Snodgrass continued, "we're receiving reports that several of our ships have been invited to participate in something called reality television." "Reality television. Apparently it's a form of entertainment where people compete in various challenges while being filmed. Captain Mumblebottom has been cast in something called Dancing with the Stars. He can't dance." "That's apparently the point, sir." Blizzleton rubbed his temples again. "What about our superior technology? Surely our advanced weaponry is striking fear into the hearts of these primitive beings." "Well, sir, our particle beam cannons have been repurposed as industrial-strength hairdryers. The humans are very impressed with their efficiency." "Our hairdryers?" "Yes, sir. Apparently they're revolutionizing the beauty industry. Captain Snodgrass received a business proposal this morning." "A business proposal? Someone wants to license our technology for commercial use. The offer includes full dental coverage and a company car." This was getting worse by the minute. Blizzleton had been expecting to file a report about the swift and decisive conquest of a primitive world. Instead, he was going to have to explain to the Galactic Conquest Committee why his invasion fleet had been absorbed into Earth's service economy. "Sir," Snodgrass said quietly, "there's something else." "What now?" "The humans have been, they've been trying to help us." "Help us what?" "Help us fix our ships, sir. Apparently, they've noticed that our vessels are held together with what they call spit and prayer, and they're offering technical assistance. Technical assistance from a primitive civilization. They're quite good at it, sir. Captain Wobblebottom reports that a human named Dave has solved an engine problem that our engineers have been working on for 6 months. "Dave?" "Yes, sir. He runs a garage. Says our ships remind him of his first car." Blizzleton stared out at the stars, wondering how his career had come to this. He was the admiral of a fleet being repaired by alien mechanics and cast in alien entertainment programs. His death rays had become hair dryers. His tactical officers were learning to make coffee. "Sir," Snodgrass ventured, "what should I tell the Galactic Conquest Committee?" "Tell them—" Blizzleton paused, trying to figure out how to explain the inexplicable. "Tell them we're conducting an extended reconnaissance mission." "For how long, sir?" "Until we figure out what the hell is going on." Down on Earth, Captain Wobblebottom was discovering that humans were surprisingly difficult to intimidate, not because they were particularly brave, but because they seemed to interpret everything as either entertainment or a business opportunity. "Look," he said to the growing crowd around his ship, "I really am here to conquer your planet." "That's great," said a man in a business suit. "Have you considered franchising? I think you could make a fortune with the right marketing strategy." "Marketing strategy?" "Sure. Galactic Conquest, the ultimate adventure experience. We could set up locations in major cities. People would pay good money to be conquered by actual aliens. They would pay to be conquered." "Are you kidding? Do you know how much people spend on theme park tickets? This would be huge." Wobblebottom looked around at his crew, who were currently being taught how to operate a coffee machine by a barista named Kevin. But we're supposed to be terrifying." Oh, you are. In a fun way. Like a haunted house, but with better special effects. Special effects. Your ship, your costumes, the whole production. It's very impressive. How do you make your eyes glow like that? They just do that. Fantastic, very realistic. Are you using practical effects or CGI? Wobblebottom felt his grip on reality beginning to slip. We're actual aliens from outer space. Right. And I'm Batman. Look, if you want to stay in character, that's fine, but let's talk business. I think we could package this as a complete entertainment experience. Maybe throw in some educational components about space exploration. Educational components? Sure. Kids love learning about science. We could have interactive demonstrations of your technology. Speaking of which, what does this thing actually do? He pointed to the vacuum cleaner. It's a death ray. Uh-huh. And what does it death ray exactly? It destroys things. What kind of things? Threatening things, dangerous things, dust bunnies. Dust bunnies? Very dangerous dust bunnies. The businessman nodded thoughtfully. So it's like a super-powered vacuum cleaner. It's not a vacuum cleaner, but it removes dust? Well, yes, and probably other small particles, I suppose. And it's more efficient than conventional cleaning equipment. Significantly more efficient. But that's not the point. The point is, you've revolutionized the cleaning industry. Do you have any idea how much money there is in industrial cleaning equipment? Wobblebottom looked around desperately. His invasion was turning into a business meeting. His crew was being taught to make lattes. His death ray was being evaluated for its commercial applications. Perhaps, suggested Ensign Snickerdoodle, we should try a different planet? A different planet? One with less enthusiastic inhabitants? But the paperwork. Sir, if we abort the mission now, we'll have to fill out Form 6644L, Request for Mission Termination due to unexpected circumstances. That form requires approval from the Department of Abandoned Conquests, which is notoriously slow. How slow, sir? The last request they approved was filed in 1847. Galactic Standard Time. Local time. They're still working on requests from the 1800s. Snickerdoodle stared at his captain. So we're stuck here, unless we can find a way to complete the mission. But sir, how do we conquer a planet whose inhabitants want to help us succeed? This was, Wobblebottom realized, an excellent question. How do you conquer a civilization that responds to invasion by offering business partnerships and technical support? Sir, called out his communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Blizzleton. Put it through. The Admiral's voice crackled through the comm system, though it sounded more like someone gargling with cosmic gravel. Wobblebottom, what's your status? Well, sir, we've successfully made contact with the local inhabitants. Excellent. Have they surrendered? Not exactly, sir. They've offered to help us with our quarterly taxes. Your what? Apparently, if we're going to be conducting business on their planet, we need to register with something called the Internal Revenue Service. Business? What business? You're supposed to be conquering them. Yes, sir, but they seem to think we're starting a franchise operation. A franchise operation? Yes, sir. They're very excited about it. They want to invest. There was a long pause. Invest? They're offering startup capital, sir, and health insurance. The health insurance is apparently very good. Admiral Blizzleton felt something that might have been a stroke coming on. Wobblebottom, are you telling me that the humans want to invest in our invasion? Yes, sir. They think it has excellent commercial potential. Commercial potential. They want to turn it into a tourist attraction, sir. Experience real alien conquest. They think it could be bigger than something called Disney World. What's Disney World? I'm not entirely sure, sir, but they seem to think it's very important. Blizzleton stared at his communications panel. His invasion fleet was being incorporated into the local economy. His death rays were being marketed as cleaning equipment. His tactical officers were being offered jobs in the entertainment industry. Sir, Lieutenant Snodgrass whispered, what should I tell the Galactic Conquest Committee? Tell them... Blizzleton paused, searching for words that could possibly explain the situation. Tell them we're conducting an in-depth analysis of local customs and business practices. Well, for how long, sir? Until I can figure out how to spin this as a success. Meanwhile, across the planet, the other invasion commanders were discovering that humans had an alarming tendency to treat everything as either a learning opportunity or a chance to make money. Captain Gigglewhistle found himself enrolled in a crash course on retail management. You see, explained the Walmart manager, customer service is all about anticipating needs and exceeding expectations. But I'm here to conquer your retail establishment. Right. And the first step in conquering retail is understanding the customer experience. Have you considered our employee training program? Employee training program. Full benefits package, 2 weeks paid vacation, dental coverage, and there's room for advancement. Advancement? You could be assistant manager within a year if you apply yourself. Assistant manager? It's a big responsibility. You'd be in charge of the entire grocery section. Gigglewhistle looked around at the vast space filled with products from around the world. The entire grocery section? Thousands of products, millions of customers. It's like being the ruler of a small kingdom. A kingdom? A retail kingdom. Very prestigious. Captain Noodlehead, meanwhile, was discovering that humans took their food very seriously. The secret, explained the McDonald's manager, is consistency. Every burger has to be exactly the same every time, but I'm here to destroy your food preparation facility. Destroy it? Why would you want to destroy it? We're about to make you Manager of the Month. Manager of the Month? You've revolutionized our fry cooking process, that technique with the tentacles. Brilliant. We're implementing it chain-wide. Chain-wide? 37,000 locations. You're going to be famous in the fast food industry. Famous. They want to put your picture on the wall, maybe even name a menu item after you. Noodlehead stared at the humans rushing around, preparing food with military precision. A menu item? The Noodlehead Special has a nice ring to it. And Captain Bonkington, well, he was having the time of his life. The trick, explained Mrs. Henderson, a professional dog walker, is to let them know you're in charge while still being their friend. But I'm supposed to be conquering your planet. Oh, you are. You've conquered every dog in the park. Look. Bonkington looked around. He was surrounded by approximately 70 dogs of various sizes, all of them looking at him with the kind of devotion usually reserved for deities or people with exceptionally good treats. They love you, Mrs. Henderson continued. You have a gift for animal communication. Have you considered professional dog training? Professional dog training? There's good money in it, and it's rewarding work. Plus, you get to spend all day with dogs. Bonkington looked at the sea of wagging tails and happy faces. All day with dogs? Every day, and no bureaucracy, no forms to fill out, no committees to report to, just you and the dogs. For the first time in his career, Captain Bonkington felt something that might have been happiness. Back on the flagship, Admiral Blizzleton was receiving reports that made less and less sense as the hours went by. Sir, Lieutenant Snodgrass reported, Captain Mumblebottom has been eliminated from Dancing with the Stars. Eliminated? The judges said his interpretive dance about cosmic conquest was too avant-garde for mainstream television. And this is bad. Actually, sir, it's very good. He's been offered a position as a choreographer for something called Cirque du Soleil. What's Cirque du Soleil? I'm not entirely sure, sir, but apparently it involves a lot of flexible humans doing impossible things while wearing very little clothing. That sounds terrifying. The humans seem to enjoy it, sir. Of course they do. Blizzleton rubbed his temples. What about the others? Captain Snodgrass has been recruited by a tech company. They want him to head up their new interdimensional computing division. Interdimensional computing? Something about using our quantum flux capacitors to revolutionize their internet infrastructure. Their what? The internet, sir. It's apparently very important to them. They use it to share pictures of food and argue about politics. They have a global communications network for sharing food pictures. Yes, sir. And videos of cats doing amusing things. Cats? Small, furry creatures that seem to have achieved some sort of dominance over human society. Blizzleton stared at his aide. The cats are in charge. Not officially, sir, but the humans spend a great deal of time serving them and creating entertainment content featuring them. So Earth is ruled by cats? In a way, sir. The humans don't seem to mind. Of course they don't. Blizzleton felt his grip on sanity slipping. What about our original mission objectives? Well, sir, technically we've achieved total integration with the local population. Integration? Yes, sir. We've been completely absorbed into their society. Several of our officers have been offered citizenship. Citizenship. Full legal status. They want to pay us salaries and provide benefits. Benefits? Healthcare, dental coverage, retirement plans. Captain Wobblebottom has been offered a pension. A pension? Something called a 401k. Apparently, it's very good. Blizzleton walked to his window and stared out at the alien world below. His invasion fleet was being offered jobs. His death rays were being marketed as household appliances. His tactical officers were learning to make coffee and walk dogs. Sir, Snodgrass said quietly, what should I tell the Galactic Conquest Committee? Tell them... Blizzleton paused, watching a group of humans teaching his crew to play something called basketball. Tell them we've achieved total cultural integration. Cultural integration? Yes. We've successfully embedded ourselves within the local population structure. And the conquest? We've conquered their hearts and minds through the power of friendship and mutual economic benefit. Friendship? It's apparently very important to them. They have greeting cards about it. Greeting cards? Small pieces of paper with sentimental messages. They give them to people they like. That's actually quite nice, sir. Yes, Blizzleton said, watching one of his officers receive what appeared to be a birthday cake from a group of humans. Yes, it is. Down on Earth, Captain Wobblebottom was having an existential crisis. Kevin, he said to the janitor, who had somehow become his closest human friend, what's the point of conquest if everyone's happy about it? Kevin, who was currently teaching Wobblebottom how to properly mop a floor, looked up from his work. Well, Captain, seems to me that the point of conquest is to make life better for everyone involved. But conquest is supposed to be about domination and subjugation. Says who? Says the manual. And who wrote the manual? The Galactic Conquest Committee. And when's the last time any of them actually conquered anything? Wobblebottom thought about this. I don't know. Seems to me, Kevin continued, that maybe they've been going about it all wrong. All wrong? Think about it. You came here to conquer us, right? Right. And instead of fighting you, we welcomed you. Instead of fearing you, we helped you. Instead of resisting, we offered you jobs and friendship. Yes. So who really conquered who? Wobblebottom stared at the mop in his hands. I don't understand. You came here to change our world, but we changed yours instead. You came here to make us like you, but we made you like us. So who's really in charge here? I have no idea. That's the thing about conquest, Captain. Sometimes the best way to win is to let the other guy think he's winning. But we are winning. Are you? You're happy, your crew is happy, your ships are fixed, your equipment is useful, and you're making friends. Sounds like conquest to me. Wobblebottom looked around at his crew, who were currently engaged in what appeared to be a friendly game of cards with a group of humans. But the paperwork? What paperwork? I have to file a report with the Galactic Conquest Committee. They're expecting a traditional conquest report. So file a traditional conquest report. But this isn't a traditional conquest. Sure it is. You came, you saw, you conquered. The fact that everyone's happy about it doesn't make it less of a conquest. But, Captain, let me ask you something. Are you better off now than you were before you came here? Wobblebottom thought about this. He was no longer flying around space in a converted garbage scow, following orders from bureaucrats who had never seen actual combat. He had friends. He had a purpose. He had learned to make coffee and play poker and walk dogs. "Yes," he said finally, "I am better off." "And are we better off?" "Well, you've got functioning death rays now, which we're using to clean our houses more efficiently. And you've learned about advanced propulsion systems, which we're using to improve our transportation infrastructure. And you've been exposed to superior galactic technology, which we're using to make better sandwiches." "Better sandwiches?" "Oh yes, much better sandwiches. You should try one." And so it was that Captain Wobblebottom discovered that the humans had indeed mastered the art of sandwich making to a degree that bordered on the supernatural. The sandwich they gave him was, quite possibly, the most perfect combination of ingredients ever assembled between two pieces of bread. "This is," he said, taking another bite, "this is incredible. See, conquest goes both ways, Captain. We conquer each other." Meanwhile, back on the flagship, Admiral Blizzleton was trying to compose a report that would somehow explain the inexplicable to a committee that had never encountered the explicable. "Dear Galactic Conquest Committee," he began, then stopped. "How does one explain that a military operation has turned into a cultural exchange program?" "Dear Committee," he tried again, "I am pleased to report that Operation Squish the Humans has achieved unprecedented success through the implementation of innovative conquest methodologies." Innovative conquest methodologies? Instead of traditional military subjugation, we have employed a strategy of mutually beneficial integration, resulting in the complete absorption of our forces into the local population structure. He paused, reading his own words. They actually sounded quite impressive when you put them like that. "Furthermore," he continued, "our advanced technology has been successfully integrated into the local infrastructure, resulting in significant improvements to their quality of life, while simultaneously achieving our strategic objectives of planetary influence." Lieutenant Snodgrass peered over his shoulder. "That's actually quite good, sir." "You think so?" "Yes, sir. It makes us sound very competent." "We are competent." "Of course, sir. But now we sound competent in the report." "The committee does appreciate reports that make us sound competent, especially when they're true, sir." Blizzleton continued writing. "Local resistance was minimal due to the innovative nature of our approach. Rather than fighting our superior forces, the inhabitants chose to collaborate, recognizing the mutual benefits of peaceful integration." "That's one way to put it, sir." "It's the accurate way to put it, Snodgrass. We did achieve integration. They did choose to collaborate. The fact that they seem genuinely happy about it is irrelevant to the official record." "Of course, sir. Now, how do I explain the casualty reports?" "Casualties, sir? Well, we haven't lost anyone, but I can't very well report 0 casualties from a major invasion." "Why not, sir?" "Because the committee will think we're lying." "But we're not lying." "I know that, and you know that, but the committee has never seen a military operation with 0 casualties. They'll assume we're covering something up." "What if we reported the casualties differently, sir?" "How do you mean?" "Well, we've lost several ships to the local population, haven't we?" "We've lost ships?" "Captain Noodlehead's ship has been converted into a restaurant. Captain Gigglewhistle's ship is now a retail establishment. Captain Bonkington's ship has become an animal rescue center. Those aren't casualties, those are career changes. But from a fleet perspective, we've lost operational control of the vessels." That's actually brilliant, Snodgrass. "We've sustained equipment losses due to successful cultural integration operations." "Exactly, sir." Blizzleton began typing furiously. "Fleet status report. Significant equipment integration with local infrastructure has resulted in the permanent assignment of multiple vessels to ongoing cultural operations. This strategic deployment ensures long-term influence and maintains our operational presence within the target population." "That sounds very official, sir." "It is official. It's also completely accurate. The best kind of official, sir. As the Admiral continued his report, stories were filtering in from across the planet that defied all conventional understanding of military operations. Captain Mumblebottom had not only been eliminated from Dancing with the Stars, he had been offered a job choreographing an entire Broadway musical about alien invasion. The show was tentatively titled Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Musical, and was expected to run for at least 2 years. Captain Snodgrass had indeed been recruited by a tech company, but not for his technical expertise. It turned out that his natural ability to explain complex concepts in simple terms made him an ideal customer service representative. He was currently working on a help desk, explaining to confused humans how to operate their own technology. "Have you tried turning it off and on again?" had become his catchphrase, and he was being considered for promotion to customer service manager. Captain Gigglewhistle had discovered that retail management was remarkably similar to military command, except with less shooting and more inventory management. He had revolutionized the Walmart checkout process and was being transferred to corporate headquarters to help implement his innovations chain-wide. "The key," he explained to his replacement, "is treating every customer like a potential ally rather than a potential threat." "But some of them are threats," protested his assistant. "Especially those ones. Kill them with kindness, not with death rays." Captain Noodlehead had found his calling in the culinary arts. His food truck, Cosmic Cuisine, had become so popular that he was being courted by several restaurant chains. The secret, he discovered, was that alien cooking techniques were apparently revolutionary when applied to human food. "The tentacle stirring method," he explained to a food critic, "ensures even heat distribution while maintaining optimal texture. And the blue flame technique, that's just good showmanship. Humans love it when their food is prepared with dramatic flair." "What about the garnish?" "Ah, the garnish. That's pure artistry. Each dish tells a story about the cosmic relationship between flavor and nutrition." The food critic scribbled notes frantically. "This is revolutionary. Have you considered writing a cookbook?" "A cookbook? Galactic gastronomy, cooking techniques from across the universe. It could be huge." And Captain Bonkington had discovered that his natural affinity for animal communication translated remarkably well to professional dog training. His techniques were so effective that he was being invited to speak at veterinary conferences. "The secret," he explained to a group of amazed dog owners, "is understanding that every species has its own language. You just have to learn to speak it. But how do you communicate with dogs? The same way you communicate with anyone. You listen first, then respond. Listen. Dogs are constantly communicating. Their tails, their ears, their posture, their breathing. They're having entire conversations that most humans never notice. And you can understand all that? It's not magic. It's just paying attention." One dog owner raised her hand. "What about cats?" Bonkington shuddered. Cats are a different matter entirely. They communicate just fine. They just don't care if you understand them." Meanwhile, the other 2,994 ship commanders were discovering their own unexpected talents and interests. Commander Wigglesworth had become a marriage counselor. His natural ability to mediate disputes between crew members translated perfectly to helping human couples resolve their differences. Commander Bumblebottom had been recruited by NASA as a consultant on interstellar travel. His practical experience with long-distance spaceflight was exactly what they needed to plan future missions. Commander Snickerdoodle had discovered a talent for education and was teaching physics at a local high school. His ability to explain complex scientific concepts using everyday analogies made him incredibly popular with students. "Think of quantum mechanics," he would tell his classes, "like trying to find matching socks in a dryer. You know they're in there somewhere, but the act of looking for them changes where they are." "That doesn't make sense," protested one student. "Exactly. Now you understand quantum mechanics. Commander Tootleberry had become a therapist specializing in workplace stress. His experience dealing with bureaucratic incompetence made him uniquely qualified to help humans cope with their own administrative nightmares. The key, he explained to his clients, is understanding that bureaucracy isn't malicious. It's just really, really stupid. But how do I deal with it? The same way you deal with any natural disaster. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and always carry snacks. As the weeks passed, Admiral Blizzleton found himself receiving fewer and fewer requests for extraction and more requests for additional supplies. His invasion force wasn't asking to come home, they were asking for care packages. "Sir," Lieutenant Snodgrass reported, "Captain Wobblebottom is requesting a shipment of space coffee." "Space coffee?" "Apparently the humans have developed a taste for our coffee substitutes. They want to open a chain of coffee shops featuring authentic galactic brewing methods." "They want to commercialize our coffee?" "Yes, sir. They're offering a licensing deal." "A licensing deal?" "60-40 split on profits, sir, plus royalties." "Royalties?" "Every time someone orders a cosmic cappuccino or a galactic latte, we get a percentage." Blizzleton stared at his aide. "They want to pay us royalties for our coffee?" "Yes, sir. Apparently our brewing methods produce a superior product." "Superior to what?" "Everything they've ever tasted, sir. Captain Wobblebottom says humans are willing to wait in line for hours just to try it." "Wait in line?" "Yes, sir. They call it queuing. It's apparently a form of recreational activity. They queue for fun. They seem to enjoy it, sir, especially when there's good coffee at the end." Blizzleton walked to his window and looked out at the planet below. His invasion fleet had been absorbed so completely into human society that they were now contributing to the gross domestic product. "Sir," Snodgrass continued, "there's something else." "What now?" "The humans want to send a cultural exchange delegation to our homeworld." "A what?" "They want to visit our planet, sir. Learn about our culture. Share their technology and social innovations." "Share their technology? But we're the ones with superior technology." "Apparently not, sir. They've identified several areas where their methods are more efficient than ours." "Such as?" "Bureaucratic streamlining, for one." "Bureaucratic streamlining?" "They've offered to help us reorganize our administrative procedures, reduce paperwork by approximately 90%. 90%? "Yes, sir. They say our current system is criminally inefficient. But our system has been in place for thousands of years, which, according to them, explains why it's so bad." Blizzleton felt something that might have been hope stirring in his chest. "They can really reduce our paperwork by 90%? "They've provided a preliminary analysis, sir. Form consolidation, digital processing, automated approval systems. They claim they can reduce most administrative tasks from weeks to minutes." "Minutes?" "In some cases, seconds." "Seconds?" "Yes, sir. They have a saying, 'Time is money.'" "What does that mean?" "It means they don't like to waste either one." For the first time in his career, Admiral Blizzleton began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the humans had conquered them. "Sir," Snodgrass said quietly, "what should I tell the cultural exchange delegation?" "Tell them." Blizzleton paused, imagining a world where filling out a single form didn't require 3 different departments and a notarized statement from his mother. "Tell them yes." "Yes, sir?" "Yes, send them the coordinates for our homeworld. And Snodgrass?" "Yes, sir." "Make sure they bring their bureaucracy experts." "And the coffee?" "Especially the coffee." As news of the successful conquest spread throughout human society, something unexpected began to happen. Humans started volunteering to help with the galactic administration. Dr. Cornelius Bumblebottom, the astronomer who had first spotted the invasion fleet, found himself appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Conquest Committee. "The thing about bureaucracy," he explained to Admiral Blizzleton during their first official meeting, "is that it's like a garden. Left untended, it grows wild and chokes out everything useful. But with proper care and regular pruning, it can actually be quite beautiful." "Beautiful?" "Efficient. Streamlined, elegant even." Our bureaucracy is elegant? It could be. You have all the right elements. You just need to organize them better. And you can do that? We can do that together. After all, conquest is a partnership, isn't it? Meanwhile, Jennifer Snodgrass had been appointed as Director of Interspecies Relations, a position that apparently involved a lot of translation between human efficiency and alien tradition. The trick, she explained to a group of confused galactic officials, is understanding that change doesn't have to mean abandonment. You can keep all your important traditions while still making them work better. But we've always done things this way. And that's wonderful. Tradition is important, but there's no reason tradition can't be efficient. Efficient tradition? Think of it as tradition with an upgrade. Same great taste, improved performance. The galactic officials looked at each other uncertainly. You're sure this will work? Look at your invasion fleet. They're happier and more productive than they've ever been, right? Well, yes. And they're still following orders and completing missions? In a manner of speaking. Then it's working. As months passed, the reports filtering back to the Galactic Conquest Committee became increasingly strange. Their invasion fleet wasn't just successful, it was profitable. The humans were paying them to stay. They were offering trade agreements. They wanted to establish embassies and cultural exchange programs. This is unprecedented, declared Committee Chairman Bingleberry Snorkelbottom at an emergency session. In the entire history of galactic conquest, no invasion force has ever been offered employment benefits by their targets. What should we do? Asked Committee Member Doodlebottom Fizzlenook. I motion that we send a fact-finding committee to investigate this anomaly, suggested Committee Member Wiggleberry Bonkletonk. Seconded. All in favor? The motion passed unanimously, though mainly because none of them could figure out what else to do. The fact-finding committee consisted of 3 of the galaxy's most experienced bureaucrats, Senior Inspector Mumblebottom Snoodlewisk, Chief Analyst Bumbleton Fizzlebonk, and Oversight Coordinator Snickerbottom Doodleberry. They arrived on Earth expecting to find evidence of some sort of elaborate deception. What they found instead was Captain Wobblebottom running a successful coffee shop, Captain Gigglewhistle managing a retail empire, and Captain Bonkington training therapy dogs for veterans with post-traumatic stress. This is, Senior Inspector Snoodlewisk began, then trailed off. Highly irregular, Chief Analyst Fizzlebonk agreed. But oddly effective, Oversight Coordinator Doodleberry observed. They spent 3 weeks conducting interviews, reviewing documentation, and trying to find some flaw in the system. What they discovered was that the humans had somehow turned conquest into a mutually beneficial arrangement where everyone involved was happier than they had been before. It doesn't make sense, Snoodlewisk complained to his colleagues over dinner at Captain Noodlehead's restaurant. Conquest is supposed to involve subjugation and resistance and dramatic battles. Maybe, suggested Doodleberry. We've been doing it wrong. Wrong. We've been conquering planets for thousands of years. And how many of those conquests have been successful long-term? Snoodlewisk thought about this. Well, most of them eventually rebel. And then we have to reconquer them, usually several times. Whereas this method seems to eliminate the need for reconquest entirely, because the targets want to be conquered, which is more efficient, and more profitable, and more pleasant for everyone involved. Fizzlebonk looked around the restaurant, where alien and human diners were chatting amicably while enjoying what was quite possibly the best food he'd ever tasted. You know what the strangest part is? What? I think I like it here. Like it. The humans are nice, genuinely nice. They seem to enjoy helping people solve problems, even bureaucratic problems, especially bureaucratic problems. They treat inefficiency like a puzzle to be solved, rather than a tradition to be preserved. Snoodlewisk nodded slowly. And their solutions actually work, which is deeply disturbing to our worldview, Doodleberry observed, but undeniably effective. What are we going to tell the committee? The truth? Which is that the humans have revolutionized the concept of conquest by making it voluntary. Voluntary conquest. They've conquered us more thoroughly than we've conquered them. And we're happy about it, which makes it the most successful conquest in galactic history. The committee is not going to like this. No, Fizzlebonk agreed. They're not. But when the fact-finding committee returned to submit their report, something unexpected happened. Instead of condemning the Earth operation, the committee found themselves asking detailed questions about human administrative methods. They can really reduce processing time by 90%? Asked Chairman Snorkelbottom. 95% in some cases, confirmed Snoodlewhisk. And they're willing to share these techniques? They're eager to share them. They seem to consider bureaucratic efficiency a form of humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid? They think our current system is causing unnecessary suffering to billions of galactic citizens. Well, the chairman paused, thinking about the 17 forms he'd had to fill out just to call this meeting. They might have a point. They've offered to send a consulting team to help us reorganize our entire administrative structure, free of charge. They say they consider it a moral obligation to help reduce bureaucratic suffering wherever they find it. Moral obligation? It's a human concept. They feel responsible for helping others, even when there's no direct benefit to themselves. The chairman struggled to find words. That's completely irrational. Yes, sir, but it's also rather nice. And so it was that the Galactic Conquest Committee found itself in the unprecedented position of being conquered by their own conquest targets through the revolutionary technique of aggressive helpfulness. The humans didn't just offer to improve galactic bureaucracy, they insisted on it. They formed committees to study the committees that studied the committees. They created task forces to streamline the task forces. They developed systems to systematize the systems. Within 6 months, the average processing time for a galactic conquest application had been reduced from 18 months to 37 minutes. The paperwork for a simple planetary survey had been cut from 847 pages to 4 pages. The approval process for death ray permits had been automated entirely. This is, Committee Chairman Snorkelbottom said, staring at a single-page form that had replaced what used to be a 73-page application. This is actually quite pleasant. Yes, sir, agreed his assistant, who was no longer spending 16 hours a day filling out forms and could now focus on actual administrative tasks. I'm beginning to understand why our invasion fleet doesn't want to come home. Speaking of which, sir, we've received another request from Admiral Blizzleton. What now? He wants to establish a permanent Earth embassy. A permanent embassy, with full diplomatic status and a cultural exchange program. They want to exchange cultures. They want to send their efficiency experts to help other planets in our territory. Other planets? Apparently, they've identified several worlds that could benefit from their organizational methods. Chairman Snorkelbottom leaned back in his chair, which was considerably more comfortable now that he wasn't constantly stressed about impossible deadlines and incomprehensible paperwork. You know what, Assistant? What, sir? I think we may have accidentally discovered the perfect method of galactic conquest. How so, sir? Instead of forcing planets to join us, we help them become more efficient. Instead of demanding tribute, we offer improvements. Instead of inspiring fear, we create gratitude. And they conquer themselves, they conquer themselves. It's brilliant, sir. It's completely accidental, but yes, it's brilliant. Should we make it official policy? Absolutely. Draft a memo to all conquest fleets. New standard operating procedure is aggressive helpfulness, followed by administrative assistance. What should we call it, sir? Operation Friendly Conquest. Very good, sir. And so it was that the greatest invasion in galactic history became the greatest administrative reform movement in galactic history, led by a species that had turned bureaucratic efficiency into an art form and customer service into a moral crusade. Back on Earth, Admiral Blizzleton was putting the finishing touches on his final report to the Galactic Conquest Committee. It had taken him months to figure out how to explain what had happened in terms that wouldn't get him court-martialed. "Mission status, complete success," he wrote. "Operation Squish the Humans has achieved total victory through the implementation of revolutionary conquest methodologies. Local population has been completely integrated into galactic administrative structure. Resistance has been eliminated through strategic application of mutual benefit protocols. Long-term occupation has been established through voluntary cooperation agreements. Cultural assimilation is proceeding ahead of schedule with full local support." He paused, reading over his words. Everything he'd written was technically true. The humans had been integrated into galactic society. Resistance had been eliminated. Cultural assimilation was proceeding with full local support. The fact that it had happened in reverse, with the humans assimilating them, was just a matter of perspective. "Furthermore," he continued, "local administrative expertise has proven invaluable in optimizing operational efficiency. Recommend immediate expansion of human administrative consultation services to other conquered territories. Potential for significant improvements in galactic governance through application of local organizational methodologies." "That's very diplomatic, sir," observed Lieutenant Snodgrass, who was currently serving as Earth's first galactic liaison officer while simultaneously pursuing a degree in human resource management. "It's accurate," Blizzleton replied. "We did achieve total victory. It just wasn't the kind of victory we expected." "The best kind of victory, sir." "Indeed." Blizzleton sealed the report and prepared to send it through official channels. In a few days, a single ship would depart Earth carrying this document, along with a delegation of human efficiency experts who had volunteered to help improve galactic administration. That ship would be the only vessel from the original invasion fleet to return to galactic space. The other 2,999 ships would remain on Earth, their crews having found something they'd never experienced in centuries of military service: purpose, satisfaction, and really excellent coffee. Captain Wobblebottom looked up from the espresso machine in his coffee shop, watching the morning rush of humans and aliens grabbing their daily caffeine fix before heading off to jobs that actually made sense. "You know, Kevin," he said to his human business partner, "I never understood what conquest was really supposed to accomplish. And now you do. Now I think maybe conquest isn't about taking over someone else's world. What's it about then? Maybe it's about finding the world where you actually belong." Kevin smiled, watching a regular customer teach one of the alien baristas how to make a perfect foam heart. "Sounds about right, Captain. Just wobble bottom now? I retired from conquering. What are you going to do instead?" Wobblebottom looked around his coffee shop, filled with the sound of laughter and conversation in 17 different languages, the aroma of perfectly brewed beverages, and the warm glow of beings from across the galaxy who had discovered that the best conquest of all was conquering loneliness. "I think," he said, "I'm going to master the art of the perfect cappuccino." And somewhere in the depths of space, the last ship of the Great Invasion Fleet carried news of the most spectacular military victory in galactic history back to a committee that would spend the next century trying to figure out how voluntary conquest had become the most effective form of warfare ever developed. They never did figure it out, but they kept sending more ships to learn from the humans, and somehow those ships never wanted to come home either.